Hi all of y'all, this is Gil. So on this video, I'm gonna talk about autism. Yeah, I guess it's understood that this month is Autism Month. I guess they celebrate it every April, which I found out about. I guess, yeah. I do that. I have a number of you who are autistic, and that I admire that actually. Yeah, but I know that on some of these videos I've been commented if I have one or if I had it, or like some people may have commented that I have autism according to like the way I acted in some of those videos. So if I was gonna be asking myself, do I have that? Well, I'm gonna be looking. I'm gonna research on uh, what what the website says about what autism is and what's the signs on it. But I'm familiarized with it, and nobody has ever told me directly that if I have autism or not. Nobody ever told me directly, or I've never been told directly if I have that or not. My mom never told me, but I do know, however, that I did get cues in my days that I was not the normal, I was not the usual kid in the town, like, well, I'm gonna take a seat right here and see what that says. So, if I was gonna be saying, well, I could solve these, by the way. I could solve these Rubik's Cubes. Well, when they say signs of autism in children, like if I can remember if I did any of these as a kid, not responding to their, well, I usually respond to my name. Avoiding eye contact, well, I guess. It was kind of natural for us to do that, not smiling when you smile. Well, if I remember, I probably did not really think of that I was supposed to do that when I was a kid. Getting very upset when they don't like a certain taste or smell or sound. Well, I don't think I remember myself being like that. Repetitive movements such as flapping their hands, flicking their fingers. Yes, I would say yeah. I did that when I was a kid. Not talking as much as other children. Well, I did talk a little bit, but I had a problem with people making fun of the way I talked. That's one thing. So it would keep me quiet. Because I had a complaint about youngsters, about other kids. I'm making fun of the way I talked. This is one thing I did a lot. Repeating the same phrases. That's what I do a lot. Back then anyway. And then if we're talking about older children, not seeming to understand what others are thinking or feeling, well, I guess, finding it hard to say how they feel. Yes, I have to say that applies to me back then, because I was kind of like afraid. I was like too shy to do that. But liking a strict daily routine and getting upset if it changes, well, I guess, I like things to say that, I guess. What? But I like to change sometimes. So it didn't really apply to me. Having a very keen interest in certain, well, yeah, I sure did. It was like my cassettes. I was really into my cassettes back then, Subject, well, but then that's subject, so certain subjects and activities. I liked riding my bike when I was a teenager and getting very upset if you had, well, I didn't. I never used to get mad if somebody asked me to do something. Finding it hard to make friends or preferring. Yes, this really did apply to me. Finding it very hard to make friends or preferring to be on my own. But I found it hard to make friends because I was always afraid of I was afraid of like being made fun of for the way my voice sounded. Taking things very literally. For an example, may not understand phrases like break a leg. Well, one thing I could tell you, I used to make jokes about it. Jokes about things like that. For an example, One funny example of that I just talked about is that when Hector and Arnold or no, like my neighbors would always come up with this thing. For an example, like, it would be nice to pick up a chick on a bike, and then that meant like picking up a girl when we were in the teenager years. Hector, like, or my neighbors would say that, like they would say that, and then I would just be funny and say, "What? You're gonna pick up a chick on a bike?" Well, what they're meant to say is like, pick up a girl on a motorcycle on this cool Ninja 600 motorcycle or something. But then I would be funny. I would always take it literally, saying, "Well, you're gonna pick up a baby chicken on a bicycle." That's what I used to do. I think that I did that a lot. I did that. I did that last one a lot. Yes. So I could tell you that's what I did a lot of back then in those days. Yeah. Now, if we're talking about adults, me, who's already like 51 years old, well, common signs of autism in people like myself, finding it hard to understand well, that doesn't apply to me, because I always have the understanding on what others are thinking and feeling. Getting very anxious about social situations, yes, it does apply to me, because like when I'm around like a crowd, and like, I tend to get like, like I tend to get anxiety or anxious because I'm afraid that I'm going to say something wrong, but I don't know if that's considered like what this says, what autism is, but yeah. And then making it hard to make, well, it still is right now, making it hard to make friends, or preferring that. I kind of prefer to be on my own, but not in that way. Not in that way. But for me, you got to understand that I am a full bred introvert. I am a total introvert. I mean, it's just the way I am. I mean, but I always feel kind of like uneasy. Well, this can be an example of what like an autistic person might do. I mean, like constantly doing things like this, and I can't help myself. I don't even know if I could be deemed autistic just because I'm doing this right now. But I mean, you know what I think it is overall? I think it might be just minor. I might be minorly. I mean, what can I say? I mean, whatever. Yeah. Well, the only reason why I would say that I would find it hard to make friends is because, I mean, it's because people just don't really like, how we call it, like, people get offensive or something, but, well, people are too shy of me, or you know what the problem is about this in me, is that the problem with that is like a lot of people, like, when they look at me and they think that I'm mad, like, I mean, I'm walking around, or my face looks like the way it is, and then people like are afraid of me, or are too shy. I mean, people are too shy of me, and because they think I'm mad. Everybody always tells me, I always get told that I need to smile, but it's just the way I look. It's how I look. A lot of people judge me by the look. I mean, I get that problem right now. I mean, not that I really care. I mean, not that I care, but it's just a fact. I get a lot of people like look at me. It's just the way it is. I mean, but then of course, another problem with that in me is that for me, like I said, I'm introvert, and I like to be home, and I don't drink and I don't smoke, so I mean, a majority of people who I interact with, they smoke or they drink, and they like to party. The majority of them like to do that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm just not that kind. I'm just totally in a different world. Like, for an example, like, I'm into things like this, for an example. But they're into, they like to drink, or they like to do things that's how we call it, and that's totally outside of things like this, like, interacting with the crowd. Yeah, it's all about interacting with the crowd. Of course, I like to interact with the crowd myself, but I'm different in my ways. So, and then here's another one that does apply to me. Seeming blunt, rude, or not interested in others without meaning to. Yes. Talking about that. I mean, a lot of times, like that was just what I was just talking about. I mean, right now, I mean, a lot of times, you know, like the way I say things. A lot of times, the way I say things, I get people very offended, or people like take me to, like, in another way. And apparently, like, they took me that other way, but apparently I was not meant to make them feel that way. It's just like the thing that I said. It's just the way I said things. Or, I mean, I cannot help that it's like the way I said it, or the wrong words that I used. Because, you know, for me, I'm not really like one of those guys that interacts with the big crowd of people and stuff. I'm not really one of those kinds, so I'm not gonna know the handshakes, and I'm not gonna know all that stuff, you know. And then I'm gonna like feel kind of uncomfortable, like shaking the hand, because I don't know if I'm doing it right or not. But in today's times, that like they go like this, you know, like they go like this to say hi or to say what's up. But and sometimes they'll go like this, and then I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, like to do it without embarrassing myself, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so that's the big one, you know. That's the big one right there, like seemingly rude or uninterested, or whatever that post said. Uninterested, seemingly looking like I'm uninterested or rude without even meaning to do that. I'm not meant to be that way. I just like look that way, or the words I say sometimes. I mean, like, for people who get offended, or they thought that I meant this, but I really didn't mean it that way. It's just I cannot help that I said it that way, or I mean, yeah. So other things that say finding it hard to say how I feel. Yes, it does apply to me, because I don't like to say how I feel. Well, I mean, I mean, for an example, in my job, you know, like if something is getting me upset at my job or anything, whatever, and then I'm not gonna fucking talk to the supervisor about it, because I find it hard. I just do. I mean, how I feel. That's an example. But it could be like a family gathering I have or something, and if it's something that I don't like, like how they're talking to me, whatever, I'm gonna find it very difficult for me to say how I feel, because I'm too embarrassed, or I feel uncomfortable trying to be direct with them. Yeah, so it kind of does apply to me there. And then taking things very literally. For an example, like, you may not understand. Well, like I said earlier, that's from the children, you know, like from older. I mean, I still like to make jokes about things like that. For the example of the chicks on the bike, you know, picking up a chick on a bike, you know, like instead of understanding that it's picking up a girl on a motorcycle, I'm saying, well, you're picking up on a baby chicken on a bicycle. Well, anyway, yeah. And then having the same routine every day and getting anxious if it changes. Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of changes, you know. I mean, I think it does apply to me, sort of, because for me, when I come home, I mean, like on the weekends, I like to be doing the same thing. Apparently, you know, for me, I don't really like to change anything. I like to, when I come home, or on the weekends, I like to just go out and ride my bike, or I just like to just be home. I like to be home, like on the weekends. That's my favorite thing to do. I just like to be home on the weekend. But I mean, but if something's gonna change about that, I mean, I'm not gonna, like, if, for an example, I mean, we're gonna, like, if Jenny Lynn wanted to make a change, like to every weekend go somewhere, like to go to a motel or something, it would probably be hard for me to like that. I mean, what I mean is, like, it would be hard for me to take the change, you know. So having the same routine every day, it does kind of apply to me. And then other signs of autism in adults like me: not understanding social rules, such as not talking over people. If they're talking about like how we call it, like what do we call, what's that word when you're talking over people, butting in or interrupting. Well, I may do that with my kids once in a while, but I mean, I already know that it's not polite to do that, so I don't even talk, really, period. I don't talk in my job, or I really don't talk at all anywhere, really. I mean, so it kind of doesn't apply to me there, because I don't talk. I don't like to talk much in my job, you know. So, I mean, avoiding eye contact, well, that does not apply to me, because I'm more than happy to have eye contact, you know. Or getting too close to other people, or getting very upset if someone touches you or gets, well, that doesn't apply to me, really. I mean, well, I really don't care. I mean, and then noticing small details, patterns, smell, or sounds that others, I do. I mean, that kind of applies to me, sort of. Like, yeah, having a very keen interest in certain subject and activity. Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, it's like activity that's just bikes or video camera record videos. I mean, that's a good example of this one right here. Keen subjects or activities while making videos. I mean, I always been into making videos. I mean, that's ultimate right there. I mean, very keen interest in certain subject. In this case, the case of making videos. I mean, that's a very keen interest right there. I mean, and then of course, and then there's autism. Well, autism can sometimes be different in women and men. For example, autistic women may be quieter, may hide their feelings, and may appear to cope better with I guess so. Well, GPs, so. And then there's other things that it was known about me, is like the tics, like the noises. I mean, I know that would be to do the autism as well. I mean, the sounds I always made, I mean, even when I was a kid. Well, I mean, basing it on all the description that they say autistic, on of whether we're autistic or not. I think I could say that I'm deemed to be minor autistic, that minor case of that. I mean, but if I was like full on autistic, you know, I would be like, I mean, yeah, it's hard to really explain, but I seen videos like on YouTube about autistic people, but they kind of like act kind of like funny in their ways, I guess, to a normal person, you know. But for an example, we get fascinated with, like, let's say a bottle with water in it, and then we go like this, you know, like that's an example. Well, for me, I might tend to do that, you know, when I get bored, you know. And then of course, you know, like I might get fascinated in my case, I have a complex the form of that. Like, I collect these video camera, like the video camera collection that I have. I like to put the cheaper ones on one side, and then the middle of the class on another side, and then the more expensive ones on the other side. I mean, I like to like put them together, like kind of like how we call it, like alphabetical order, so to speak, you know. And I'm gonna do that with like certain other things too. I mean, and that would be Rubik's cubes too. I mean, like when I have these Rubik's cubes, you know, my collection of Rubik's cubes, I'm gonna put all the 3x3s on one section, and then I'm gonna put the 4x4s on another for that example. I don't know if that applies with bicycles that I have a lot of, but so I would say, all in all, I would have to say that I have a minor case of it. minor case of autism. I mean, nobody ever directly told me, but I do know that I was kind of like out of the normal, not like in that way, but I was not like the typical kid because I liked being on my own. My mom told me that, I always liked to be by myself, when I was a kid. That is just the way I was, I know that's, so I would have to say, I mean, and then of course it's not only the things that I said, it's like the way that I may use tics, the sounds. For an example, in my job, I mean, I always talk in some funny language, because I don't want to talk, I don't want to be saying what I think of every person because they might be offensive. Well, I mean, that's just being funny. Well, anyway, so yeah. Well, so speaking of this month being Autistic Awareness Month, well, that's interesting because that's a new one to me. Or I never, I mean, the month of April, well, I'm just saying hi to all of y'all who are autistic. And I do see that a number of you who like my channel are autistic, but that's cool though. I mean, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, so yeah. So anyway, so I thought I would just post this video just to talk about that, So yeah, I mean, so I guess so ends this video. I mean, okay. All right. I'll see y'all. Okay. Yeah.